Hello and welcome to this week's Old School Q&A. I'm your host Mod Gambit, and joining me on the sofa this week are Mod Ash.
Hello.
And Mod Tide.
Hey.
Over on the PCs we have Mod Husky and Mod West. Are we able to? There they are. Hey guys, they're going to be showing us some content in a bit, and on chat we have the wonderful Mod Maz.
Hello.
And well, she's mic'd up as well, so she'll be able to answer the questions along with us. If you have any questions throughout the stream, we'll try to answer those at the end, so send them to, is it at RuneScape or at, have we got the Old School account? At Old School RuneScape.
Old School RS.
So at Old School RS to get your questions in. Last week we had a special stream for Song of the Elves, which had all of the, well not all, but most of the Song of the Elves team on, and they talked about the progress they've made so far and answered your questions. !elf stream, all one word, will take you to that stream if you're interested. And we also have a GIF to show you of Crystal Armor. This has been updated since then. ModG has been working with your feedback and produced this. So feast your eyes. I think this is looking great. Vast improvement from the original, I think. Thoughts on this, Tide?
I really like the spikes on the shoulders, and the helmet looks really nice as well, especially since it doesn't really show the cloth anymore and it's just full crystal.
I believe it's a slight mashup of the popular ones from the survey she ran, and I hope that's a good compromise for people.
Yeah, I really like this design. Cool, so I'm going to move on to the announcements and get those out of the way. There's quite a few, so please bear with us. The first one is, I suppose we can consider it something of an elephant in the room, which is the recent, let's call it a recent controversy that happened, especially over the weekend. Because I did want to touch on this. So for anyone who sort of, I think missed out is the wrong word, but isn't aware of what's been going on, there have been some concerns recently regarding account security, and that was sort of provoked, let's say, or sparked off by some decisions made regarding PMods. So to touch on that, if you remember, we did release a message to the community post a couple months back where we explained that player support will be posting regular blogs touching on the main topics of concern, which were, I want to make sure I get these right, toxicity, tools, account security, and there was one other one.
Well, the first blog they put out was mostly about people's ability to contact them and get responses, and in that they also touched on security, was a sort of preview of the forthcoming blog, because they knew that needed addressing before waiting for the next one to come out. So I think it's meant to be a series of 4 blogs. They've had the first one.
Yes. And
the next one's due to be about security.
Yes, so the next one is, like Ash has just said, about security. We're hoping that will be out next week and will hopefully answer a lot of your concerns. Next on the agenda is the merch store. So alongside the update at 11 AM UK time tomorrow, we'll be adding some new things to the merch store. I think I have a little slideshow to show you guys, which will feature. This is the Old School map printed on a desk mat. That's not going out tomorrow, but will be available for pre-order as of tomorrow. Oh, I've got a clicker here. I won't dwell on this too much, but I believe it's a mashup of both the Old School and RuneScape maps. There's some really cool features on there.
Yes, it was designed to cover both versions of the games. So for us, it's got, some of the, it's got Zaya, it's got the Kingdom of Kurend in its current layout, and it's got the Kingdom of Varlamore to the south that we've been teasing for quite a while now. Also Fossil Island for us. And for RS3, it covers the south end of Menethos and the Lost Grove and Ashdale, trying to represent RuneScape in a way that all versions can recognise as pretty much their RuneScape. And hopefully you guys don't mind the occasional thing in the sea that we ain't got, like the Lost Grove.
There we go. This is being modelled by the lovely Mod Shed. Is that his mod name?
I think it is indeed Mod Shed.
That's actually me in the photo.
Oh, is it really?
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately.
What's your mod name?
John.
John.
Sorry, modelled by the lovely Mod John. So this is what it might look like in front of your PC.
Why did you choose John, Nigel? Nothing, don't worry.
There's also a mouse mat available if you don't want the full-on desk mat or you want both. You can get it in smaller size, shown there on the right. There we go. Ah, there's Mod Shed.
Doesn't have a ring on his finger, see?
Ah, yes,
Oh.
well spotted.
And also has Shed's face.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
No one's perfect.
Cool. We're also adding some pins and keyrings to the Angelscapes range on the merch store. This is a Neve pin, as you can see. I think you guys will, well, hopefully you guys will like that.
God love the Ellie. Oh,
There we go.
Neve pin it again.
Another picture of the Neve pin.
Who do we get to model these?
Sorry?
Oh, nothing.
I mean, we can, if you would like. Got a Fire Cape keyring, Quest Cape and Achievement Cape. And these ones I thought were very cool. Ancient Staff pins in Blood Barrage and Ice Barrage variants. I think these are very cool.
Had a request earlier for a Dragon Warhammer one.
Ah, that'd be nice.
If the chain was longer, you could imitate throwing a spell at someone.
Oh,
Yeah. And there they are all together. Cool.
buy things.
There we go. And yeah, if you aren't aware of where the merch store is, that's where it is. But exclamation mark merch will take you to a tweet where we're showing off the pictures that we just shown you, but also a link to the merch store. Like I say, these things will be available as of tomorrow with the game update at 11 a.m. So make a note if you're interested. All right.
That's going to be interesting because it said 11 a.m. game time. We reboot at 11:30 a.m. British summer time. Well, I guess it'd be around that time.
Yes, I believe it will be. Yeah, they're going to be an hour separate, aren't they?
Well,
In that
game
case.
time is separate from. Yeah, also it depends whether you're counting the update as when the countdown starts or when the servers reboot.
Right. So I think it will be 12 game time in that case.
Yes. Also, Thursday is the, I think, 13th.
Oh, did it say 14th there? That's a mistake. Okay. Right.
Well, you'll be able to buy it at some point on a day at a time.
Yes, confirmed at some point in time these will be available. We're hoping tomorrow, tomorrow around the time of the update.
Yes, we've got a calendar here. Oh, well.
Okay, so I'm going to move on. The summer special is now available as well. You'll be able to buy 3 months of membership for the price of 2, exclamation mark membership for all of the details.
Let's make tomorrow the 14th, why don't we?
I believe we're updating the Bonds interface to accommodate that tomorrow. Oh, wait, no, we've done that already.
Summer
actually.
Special has been available on the Bonds interface since Monday.
Since Monday.
At about 11 a.m. British summer time, which I think was 10 a.m. game time.
Right. Lots of exclamation mark membership in the chat. That's good. Cool. So next point on the agenda is Deadman. The Spring Finals rerun is happening this Friday. Exclamation mark Deadman will link you to the Twitch event if you are interested in watching. We will have Nightinator hosting, which is very exciting, and it's going to be cast by Regsy and Ian Spam from, well, this studio right here, in-house. So watch out for that. Exclamation mark Deadman to mark the event.
We shall miss the trips to exotic Leicester. It's got good bars.
We had a couple of questions about that, which I wanted to touch on as well. Manx asked if we'll be allowing swapping in the final Deadman tournament. I think he's referring to the summer tournament. So to be perfectly clear on this, we're okay with swapping in the season, same as last time, but for the tournament itself, we don't want anybody essentially buying advantages. So that's how it's going to be. We won't consider it okay for the tournament itself, i.e. the finals, but in the season, swap away.
Not that we're running a season.
Yes, and one other thing I wanted to touch on was the 3-hour period for non-PvP activity, which we're going to have before the spring final rerun. We wanted to explain why we've chosen to do this. So I've got some words here, which will hopefully do that. So the reason for that is we weren't able to restore people's accounts exactly as they would want them, basically at the time that things stopped working, for lack of a better phrase, last time. And the point of this rerun is to do the right thing for as many players as possible, which means leveling the playing field, essentially. We want it to be so that no one misses out or was set further back than they have to be. So that's the reason behind it. We know it's not perfect. We know we can't fix everything just like that, but we're hoping this will make some amends.
We're quite limited in our ability to roll back to specific points, partly because the save games are not all synchronized across one server. There's a lot of save game servers across the planet, and when we've needed to roll back, we've been very limited for exactly where we could get you synced to. So I'm afraid this seems the best compromise of all the things available to us, even if it's not the ideal one for anybody. Sorry.
And yeah, for anyone who didn't know, we are offering the full $32,000 in prize money for this rerun as well. So it's all to play for. And yeah, final reminder, !Deadman will set the Twitch event if you're interested in watching. So I'm going to move on. We have two very patient mods waiting over there on the PCs to show us content that they've been working on. !Forthos, Forthos, will link you to the poll blog that went live last Friday. It detailed the Forthos Dungeon that Mod Husky has been working very hard on alongside Mod West, who originally pitched it. So we're going to go over to those guys who are going to, well, give you the rundown on what it looks like and what it's all about.
Hey guys. As you can probably see on the game map, this is Hesidius. It was recently reworked by this wonderful man here. And right now, we have this strange ruin here called the Forthos Ruin. And part of the original Hesidius rework was to have a dungeon pitched in there. But with so much to do with the rework, it wasn't actually done with that. And that's what I've been working on. So you'll see these two entrances here, which you can kind of see this part of the game map. We now have a ladder, so let's go down and see what's there. So walking through, this is kind of similar to the dev blog, but we've got this area here of red spiders. Not red spiders, temple spiders. They're a higher level version of them. Well, along with red spider egg spawns. Just get a look at this environment here as I walk through it. We have some slashable webs because they're spiders, so why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you have webs you can slash and then fail to slash like 3 times in frustration?
What are you slashing them with?
A whip.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I'll just teleport through to save going through that. We have this character here, Brother A. Mary, as mentioned in the blog. So you can talk to him. This is where you'll start the mini quest that was pitched in there, and he'll give you information about things in the dungeon. Essentially, if you find anything you don't recognize, if you use it on him, he'll give you some descriptive information about it. We have over here the new NPC, the Undead Druid, which I think was the Raid Skeletal Mystic model.
Yeah, that was just a sort of temporary graphic for that.
So you've got here these creepy-looking corrupted druids with an amazing mask on their heads.
They're very happy.
Very happy cultists. In a strange pot.
What are they cooking?
Don't know.
Something.
Teleporting through the rest of the dungeon. Here is that grubby chest, spruced up a little bit since last time. The grubby key you'll get from killing creatures in the dungeon as a uncommon to rare drop, and it'll essentially give you some loot and some supplies. Walking through, more of these smiley boys here, and some bookcases.
I was tempted to make that the model name, but I resisted and just kept it sensible.
You can... these bookcases are all different, unique, look quite cool. You might find those useful in the quest. Heading up to this altar of the sun, but that's not a sun altar west. That looks more like a moon. We have a broken sun altar. There's lore and suggestions for that you can explore in here to find out what this happened. Praise the sun.
Yeah, I've got to throw that in there.
Here's this NPC Albertus, who we're not going to go into much, but he has some function in this dungeon. I look forward to everyone finding out. Teleporting through. Here's this Scorched Grotto, with a number of red dragons and baby red dragons. These will be added to the Konar areas for red dragons, so you've got another option to kill them. Yeah, and this has been spruced up a bit since the image. It's no longer just one big brown landscape.
The images were sort of a work in progress of the dungeon, so we never just sort of keep floors that sort of solid brown colour.
Yeah,
got to get some dithering in there.
This looks vastly different to when I was working on the dev stuff. Mod West has been using a lot of creativity in designing this over the last while. So that's that agility shortcut I passed with 75 agility. Let's move through to the last room, which is here's the Crypt of the Moon was what we called it.
Yeah, I believe so.
Where you can see more of these undead druids, the sort of phasing transitions of the moon. This relief here, which behind it will have some sort of entrance that you'll unlock somehow in the dungeon, taking you to this bone burner room, where you've got an NPC called Odin, or Eodan the Tanner, however you want to pronounce it. The bone burner itself for burning the bones, as mentioned in the blog. And then, so he'll tan your hides for a bit more than normal the price. And once you've made your way into here, pull the lever, and it'll permanently unlock this door. I think that pulled.
Yeah, I think I saw it move.
Yeah, okay. I can't remember if I've unlocked it or locked it now. Unlocked it, there we go. So you'll be able to access this. There's a lot of exploring the dungeon to unlock more content within the dungeon, which I think adds a lot more flavour and depth to it.
You just reminded me of a bug I found earlier. If you walk to your right... No, left. There we go.
Oh.
Yeah, I noticed that when I was testing it earlier. It's because when the door opens, it removes the blocking on the wall next to it.
Nice.
It's a problem I had with the doors in his cities itself as well. And as soon as it happened, I was like, oh, I wonder if it'll do it here as well. So yeah, I need to add some block in there.
Cool.
It's a good thing I remembered that.
That's okay. We'll catch that. So part of the quest, show you some cool models. You have these 3 books, maybe a bit small on the screen down here, but you have these little books you have to fill as part of the dungeon. Once you've as part of the mini quest of the dungeon, and once you do, you'll be able to enter this this crypt down here, which leads to the boss room. And I think this boss area looks amazing. I'm going to teleport in and let you have a look and see Sarachnis in its habitat.
But no boss spoilers.
No boss spoilers. We're not showing you any mechanics. I'm invisible to the boss right now. So you've got these like egg sacs on the walls, which are either broken open or still there. You've got this lovely patterns on the wall. Plenty webs, the hanging webs, which I think we pinched from a Theatre of Blood.
Yeah, some classic. If you've been to Theatre of Blood, you might have noticed a few unfortunate heroes trapped in those webs.
Yes. So this was the idea for this room. Is this was an old like sort of place where the moon druids that are exploring the story of the dungeon would bury their places. But unfortunately, when they left, when this dungeon was deserted, this spider decided to make it its home. So you've got these nice little empty sarcophagi, however that is.
Nice.
So yeah. Little box for retrieving your items if you die in there, and that's kind of it, I think.
Yeah, it's a pretty good rundown of it.
Cool.
So we don't want to spoil too much. Let you explore the dungeon at your own pace.
Yes. I see a lot of questions about feedback and stuff, which we're going to, I think, answer when we get back to the couch. Because, there were like 700 comments in that Reddit thread. I think you and I both read all of them. So,
got to get that feedback.
Yeah. Cool. But that's an overview of the dungeon, just to sort of walk through and the purposes of each room. Not go into story or anything, but yeah. Hopefully you guys have fun with it.
Oh, they want to examine the boss.
Oh, examine the boss.
There's a little bit of a joke there, right?
Yeah. Gonna need a really big newspaper, guys.
New best in slot, perhaps. Giant newspaper.
I'll give another examine text. Examining an egg sac. Some of you might get that.
Lore.
Lol.
Everyone loves a bit of lore.
Cool. Anyway, that's us.
Yeah,
Head
cool.
back to the couch.
Yeah, back to the couch.
And they didn't even touch on the mini quest.
No, that's true. Well, I think they wanted. Well, we wanted to deliberately leave some stuff a surprise. So.
Yes.
All right.
Spoiler-free zone.
Yes. Yeah, there was someone in the chat there saying, "Oh, well, you've spoiled the whole thing." No, absolutely not. There's loads left that you haven't seen. And the boss fight itself is not going to be as straightforward. You stand there and hit it until it dies. There's a few mechanics in there, aren't there?
Yes. I've had a lot of fun designing that boss. I won't go into how I've done it, but essentially the way I look at it is this is it's a kind of this midway boss that's you've killed Mole, you've killed KBD, and there's quite a big step up to Zolra.
Yeah.
Things like Vorkath, they require some quests, and there's a lot of mechanics. I think the biggest thing with the combat system in our game is it's either gear switching or prayer switching, and suddenly going from having to do none of that to all of that is a big step up for Zolra. So this boss requires one of those things. So it's just to kind of get people used to it, and it's not going to be terribly punishing either. If you mess up the mechanics, you'll eat a bit more food, you'll get less trips, the boss fight might take a bit longer, but ultimately it's not going to be like Cerberus, you don't pray for the ghost and you die. It's not going to be that level of punishing, because the idea is to give people this entry. I think all of you saw me walking around that sort of Torag's gear, Obsidian Cape, combat bracelet, that's kind of the guy who I was making this for, right? This is the guy who's maybe just got his Abyssal Whip, 80s combat stats, 60 prayer, that sort of level. And he's like, that's the point where leveling in this game starts to get quite a bit harder. You notice the time between levels moving to hours, and it just gives them some content to sort of look at for that thing that's not, let's say, Barrows, KBD, Mole, that sort of thing.
Nice. Mod West, it was in your original Hosidius rework blog that we first pitched the idea of the dungeon, wasn't it?
Yep, that's the one.
I suppose, just for a bit of context, what made you want to include a dungeon as part of that rework?
Well, with Zeta on release, it didn't have too many dungeons, so I was really looking to sort of add a few more underground areas to just the area in general.
Sure.
And one of my favourite areas is Tavli Dungeon, so I sort of wanted to sort of incorporate that sort of feel to a dungeon for Krend. And then I had the sort of other idea of having this sort of self-sufficient dungeon, so where you can kill your dragons, you can turn your hides into leathers with the tanner, and you can out them and also use your bones on the burner. So it sort of gives that sort of nice loop inside the dungeon itself. It's just quite a nice, unique sort of effect, and that was sort of the original design and where it came from.
Sure. So I suppose a part of it you could say is world building, like you've done for Song of the Elves, let's say, above Prif, the sort of whole area you've added to increase the depth of the area. That's cool.
Yeah, it's what makes it feel a bit more ingrained into the game. It sort of gives it a purpose. So it's sort of like lore first, and then we sort of put the content in afterwards.
Sure.
It's a good way to go about it.
That's cool. Have you found, well, this is your first sort of major project that you've had essentially to yourself since West handed it over, right, Husky?
Yeah, so after I finished my sort of training, it was what we're gonna give Mod Husky to show his stuff, essentially. Normally it's like Easter, Christmas events, that sort of thing, but the next one's Halloween, and they kind of need to know if I'm good or bad before then, so before they decide to keep me or get rid of me. So it was okay. Well, we'll tackle this. That was mentioned. I think it was mentioned at RuneFest. It was mentioned in the Hosidius rework.
Yeah, just a bit before.
And we'll see. So obviously, I spoke to Connor, saw the original design, saw this sort of bone burner, dragon hides, grubby key sort of idea in this dungeon layout, and the first thing that was why? What is the story here? Why are these people here? What has happened? Because to me, that's really important to understanding and playing the content.
Sure.
For those that don't know, my basically favorite game apart from this is Dungeons and Dragons, and it's all lore, it's all RPGs, and I really wanted that sort of classic sort of dungeon feel of like, this thing existed before you guys got there, and it wasn't made for you, and I've had to balance that between actually fitting it into the game where people can do it, and I wanted to stick true to a lot of what Mod West did, because to me, it is essentially the dungeon was there first, and I put the content in.
Yeah, sure thing.
I didn't want to change it too much.
Yeah, I think you've really captured that feel, and I know a lot of the players did as well. When I saw the comments in the reaction to the blog, they said, this feels really old school and sort of quintessentially what an RPG dungeon should feel like. So I think you nailed that.
Yeah,
which is great. You and I were talking earlier about some of the other things players raised in feedback, which I know you wanted to explain or have a chance to discuss while we're here.
Yeah.
So I'll fire a couple of them at you. The first three are around the boss. So I suppose we'll go on and touch that first.
Sure.
Some players want to know if there's a chance to make the boss non-instanced and multi.
So I will preface this with not my sort of game mode, is that I came from an Ironman background, we're used to instant stuff, and people have said, oh, it's just an instance Ironman boss, it's catering to Ironman. I think it's kind of most bosses this way have done that, and I wanted to stick to that and give new players an example of what to expect. However, just because, and that was essentially where I balanced the mechanics around, right? I've balanced the mechanics around a single player, but since people have brought it up, I've been thinking, why not have both? And I'm not promising it. I have to look into my design to see how I can scale it up to more people, make more of the mechanics handle more players, that sort of thing. I would love to have sort of the Kraken and KBD treatment where you pay for your instance to go in solo, and otherwise you can just go in with your friends and do it. And it's like, this might be designed for level 100 combat people, but me and my 3 friends are 85 combat, let's give it a shot. I'd love that feeling of it. And obviously, like, if you've got a bunch of maxed players, they'll just shred it. I preface this with this boss so much. A maxed player will shred this boss. It's not made for you. You'll kill it quickly. That's just how it is. I'm not going to balance it around that. I want it to be primarily balanced around the new players. And I think that was something that was tried with the Grotesque Guardians and maybe was missed a bit, because it has so much HP. It has a Slayer alternative that's better golden hour, that even when it was looked at for a new player boss, people have said, why are you doing this when Grotesque Guardians failed? Because I think I want to design it around that person. There is no alternative that's better golden hour. There's no, there's no alternative. It's just, there's this cool boss. So yeah, and I think that also max players will shred it. People like shredding bosses. That's fun as well. So I think you hit that for both players.
Cool.
Again, not promising I can make it group. I want to try. I need to time cost that and sort of see how much work that will take for me to rework mechanics.
Oh, well, thank you for agreeing to look into that. I know it's going to make a lot of players happy that you're acknowledging the feedback. I'm going to try.
Yep.
People are also interested to know about Sarachnis's drop table, particularly the potential for uniques. So I know in the poll blog we discussed the idea of a giant egg sack, which is going to contain lots of red spider eggs. How do you feel about other uniques potentially, or something different?
It's something I wanted to wait till I come on stream, because I really want to start a discussion about it. It's really hard to find this unique reward space for this boss that fits. I think I have one after looking at some suggestions. I would like to pitch a unique, which would be a crush weapon that's sort of in between the 60 and 70 bracket. So it would be essentially worse than a whip, but better than a scimitar. But because it's a crush weapon, the only thing that I think comes close to Leaf Bladed Battle Axe, and it's very much like a Kurask slaying weapon 5-tick thing. Right. If it was 4-tick, and I've actually turned, the boss's stats are already set, so that a 4-tick crush weapon with about 70 attack bonus and 70 strength, which is worse than a whip, will still outperform the whip at this boss. So it'll be a nice step up for the player to go, I had a whip when I started, and I've got the money for this boss. And I really like that self-fulfilling prophecy in boss drops being good for the boss, for the people that it's done. Vorkath did that with the Skeletal Visage for the Dragonfire Ward. Verzik has done that with the Scythe. Olm did that with the Twisted Bow. I like this idea of you kill the boss to get something. And it won't outshine the whip anywhere else. It's just because, and this is kind of giving away something about the boss, it is primarily designed around melee, and crush is going to be a specific weakness of it. That's a freebie for the people without going into mechanics. So because of that, it's Hasta will still be better if you've got a Hasta. It's a 14 mil weapon. Bludgeon will still be better, but you'll have that for it. I know Rock also proposed something like a spider silk bowstring that you can attach to a dark bow that would make it 1 tick faster. Another potential idea for a weapon. I want to start this discussion to see what we want to do, and the poll isn't out yet. We can say, would you like this unique? Would you like that unique? So yeah, I like the idea of the crush weapon, maybe the bowstring something as well, but we can start that discussion. Cool.
And I want to sort of emphasize at this point, if you have any ideas for uniques, ping them over to modhusky at jagexhusky on Twitter, and I'm sure we'll take them into consideration. Or
yes.
Let them know what you think of the crush weapon idea.
Yes. I mean, at this point, if people say they hate it, we won't put it to a poll, but if I get a lot of positive feedback saying it's a good idea, we'll see how it does. If it fails, it fails.
Sure.
But
cool. People also want to know pet or nah?
I've seen a lot of mixed opinions from people. I think the biggest one is another spider pet. I would like a pet. I've already kind of got it's not a lot of work to make a pet. I've already got it in the game, just need to rescale the model down. I would like it there. I think the concern is that Song of the Elves already said they're having 2 pets. Right. My standpoint is I've never minded pets as a player. It's always that nice to have. I got lucky, put it in. I show it off to my friends. I think pet hunters, like people said, it's not fair to pet hunters, but they're pet hunters because they like to get pets, in my opinion. It's going to be a fairly low-level boss, so it's not going to be a hard pet to get. So I think why not go for it? And I think it's unique enough model from the other spiders that it's not just going to be, it's just another Venenatus, another Verzik pet.
It certainly doesn't look like the other spiders.
No, someone I was speaking to.
G?
Yes, was we were looking at daddy long leg spiders is an inspiration for that, for it to be different, that little body and long legs. So yeah.
Yeah, we got that all right.
So yeah, it has a little body and big legs, and I think it's that unique feel.
Yeah, it definitely sits like a lot taller than the other spiders, spider pets we have. So definitely unique.
Other questions players want? Oh yeah, so the bone burner that features in the dungeon. Some players are concerned about the XP rates for prayer around it. Do you want to have a chance to talk about that?
Yeah. So I really like spreadsheets, and I kind of made a spreadsheet for this. I don't have the numbers at hand. I've left them on the desk over there. But essentially, people are forgetting that red dragons are a lot harder than blue dragons in defense. They've got 35 more hit points. And essentially, any main account is never going to do this as their predominant trading method. The Chaos Altar in the Wilderness is essentially a 7 times multiplier because it's 3.5 times and you get twice as much benefit from your bones. Same for Ironman, they'll just do that. The two groups that it was kind of targeted towards as maybe being strong for were Ultimate and Hardcores. Specifically, Hardcores going for Piety, and then any of those accounts going for 99 was kind of the thing. If you're going for Piety, you're probably at about a rune crossbow, and I worked it out to be roughly 18 to 19k experience an hour, assuming you're flicking Eagle Eye, 0 time picking up bones, you're never losing damage, and you're 1 tick using the bones. That's a lot of IVs that'll scale up to that experience per hour. The same, anything with blowpipe essentially doubles it. But go at the maximum gear with like Void, Myth Darts I think I used as shooting for ults that would have easy access to, and a blowpipe, flicking Rigor, it was about 45k experience an hour. I think that was even range potted as well. So like having that much supplies, flicking Rigor, it's a lot of effort. And I think even Pest Control is borderline like 40k experience an hour for ults. That's what they do. I'm okay with moving a prayer method that's marginally better away from Pest Control. You know, actually training prayer as opposed to just spending points on it. It feels a better gameplay thing. For hardcore, say Myth Guild, Green Dragons, it's probably still a thing. The intention for this wasn't to make a new meta. The intention for this was, here's a cool idea, let's balance it so it's not ridiculous, and so it's a nice feature when you get this as a task or when you just want to do something, because it's such a waste to leave those bones and those hides on the floor when you're killing those dragons, as many people do, or having to go and bank to do it. So, yeah, that's the idea for this. The experience rates are not that bad, and even if I'm wrong, even if I've counted every tick for every hour that you can do in my spreadsheet wrong, and it is bad, we can nerf it. I'm absolutely okay for moving it down to 2.5 times if it proves too powerful.
Cool. Well, thank you for explaining. I know there was one final point that you wanted to touch on. So there are some of you even in chat who are actually saying this, so I'm going to give Mortaski here a chance to respond. Some people are concerned that this update is too Ironman centric, and others are saying, oh, it's just another Slayer dungeon. Would you like a chance to respond to that?
Yeah. I think as I touched on earlier, the dungeon was designed first. We've only got 2 monsters in it, which was the Temple Spider and the Druids, plus the boss, which is essentially just a boss version of the Temple Spider. And I feel like if it was a Slayer dungeon, it would have had more creatures, and the creatures would have been chosen specifically to be a Slayer dungeon, monsters with a Slayer level. None of these creatures have a Slayer level, and it was more of an afterthought to be, we've got these new creatures in Zaya, we have a Zaya Slayer Master, why not just put them on her Slayer assignment list just to push people towards and discover this piece of content that they might actually enjoy. As far as an Ironman thing, I think that's mostly come up with the Red Spider Egg thing, which is just, it's done through Tower of Life killing level 42 creatures. The original design had a red spider, which I was interested in putting to a boss to see, learn myself how a boss is done, get that practice in. I thought it'd be really fun to do and hit that niche of the mid-level player.
Was it?
It was a lot of fun, actually. I got to look at a lot of bosses and see how they're coded that I've spent hours killing in the game. And I think that it was just we're doing a red spider boss, this is who I'm doing it for. We might as well address the Nightmare Zone red spider eggs issue and at the same time make it nicer and more enjoyable for Iron people to get their red spider eggs, because nobody likes going to Tower of Life and doing it. And it's not going to be better than that, it's just going to be an alternative. And I think people forget, Ironman don't need a lot of them. I think going to 99 Herblore, I had about 2k to 3k Snapdragons. That's not a lot of time at Tower of Life, that's about 3 to 4 hours. It's just would have been nicer to have spent that time doing something else. It's not going to break the Herblore meta, and because you don't have an abundance of Snapdragons to use, and nobody uses Harrowlanders. Cool.
Well, thank you for commenting on that. So, like we say, !Forthos will take you to the poll blog that went out on Friday. I think we're expecting to go over feedback this week and possibly post a change list based on that feedback this Friday. And then we'll be looking to poll, I think, early next week. So yeah, thank you very much for that, Mod Husky.
Thank you.
I'm going to move on to the chat questions now. Give Mods Ash and Tide a chance to speak.
I spoke earlier.
I did as well.
So our first is from Ray, and he wants to know if we could attach a counter to the Kingdom of Miscellanea, which would tell us the last time we collected resources from there. How do we feel about this one?
I think that would be quite nice, because then you can see how many days of resources you've got stocked up. So if you want to wait a month and then go get all your resources, see how much you've actually gotten in that month, then you know exactly how long it's been. I think it'd be quite nice.
Am I right in saying that there is actually a cap on how many resources it will collect or how long it will collect them for?
There's a cap on how many resources it can have, and it will tell you if you've got there.
Right.
I think when you interact with the, possibly when you interact with the place where you get favour. So if you hit that, you'll probably know about it. And the way it gives you resources from your favour is when you interact with something on the island or turn up on the island, it checks to see how many full days it's been since you last did so. And for every full day, multiples of 24 hours, give you some, well, turn some of your favour into resources multiplied by your favour at the time, decrease your favour a little, give you some resource in exchange for your favour now it's a bit lower, decrease your favour again. Repeat that once for each full day it's been, and thus over time it kind of tails off because your favour's going down and you're getting a lower multiplier, turning your favour into resources, and thus it updates your resource points, it tells you you've got the cap, and then you visit Grim and it turns the points into actual items and dumps them on you. Which is why I've advised people when they ask that it's beneficial to go there regularly and get your favour up, so that rather than having it decay over time and decrease your multiplier.
Makes sense.
Not that anyone asked, but it's come up occasionally.
Okay, so I suppose we would consider adding something that lets you know, but...
I don't see a problem with it. It's not a secret.
Sure.
Especially as you probably knew already.
Cool.
Finding somewhere to put it is sometimes a pain, but it's got an interface already, so that's easy.
That's true. Furious wants to know if we would consider allowing players to combine ancient shards with some ranged weapon to create a ranged Demon Bane weapon. Possibly something that's lesser used, like Seer Cull or the Bone Crossbow.
Someone just really wants to get their sickles to be a bit more pricier, don't they?
You should panic buy them anyway.
It's always worth to just panic buy them.
How do we feel about a ranged Demon Bane weapon as opposed to arc lights?
I don't like it personally. I think blowpipe is already pretty strong against most demons anyway, so is it better than a blowpipe? And we've already kind of got a range-scape thing going on anyway. Arclight is one of those few times where you're like, okay, we should actually use melee for this boss. I think even Twisted Bow is actually better at Krill anyway if you're up there and you can do the method to kite it properly than an Arclight.
Sure.
But I like that that's unique to melee. At least, I don't want to add any more to range, because if it's worse than blowpipe, nobody uses it. If it's better than blowpipe, we've just power creep range.
They did bring up the Holy Water, which kind of is a range thing, but a very, very different one. And it could, if it were made not so horrible to get, it could also be made to roll off a different kind of defence from the usual kind of ranging.
Very true.
The problem with that as well, we've not got a dark light crossbow, because you actually add the crystals to a dark light to make the arc light, and we don't really have that sort of middle ground.
That's true.
I assume it would need to give another item as well, unless it's just the crossbow bolts, which does seem a bit inconsistent.
Why not allow it to be used on the Staff of Light and make a corrupted Staff of Light so mage is a bit more powerful to demons?
Ooh, I'm okay with giving mage more options. Like I say, I just don't think range needs the power creep specifically.
Okay.
Yeah. You know that bow sword thing from the Devious Minds quest?
Yes.
Yes.
Just saying.
Potential.
Linus wants to know if the Gauntlet pet will have a transmog option to allow it to turn into the other crystal creatures from, well, the Gauntlet. For anyone who hasn't seen them, Elf stream. We'll link you to the stream where we showed off a few of those. I can't speak on the behalf of the artists and the devs, but I love the idea. So I will pose it to them, I suppose. Do we like this idea?
It's sort of cool. Usually we had transmogs sort of like after the, give it a time for them to get the pet first and have it, walk around a bit, before we like sort of mix up the differences you can change it to. A bit like with the thing we did with Zuck and the Nibbler and Corp.
Yep.
So potentially, but I don't know. That would be like having like even more. People said earlier they didn't want more spider pets. That would be another spider pet, and also I don't think all of them would really work in a 1x1 because some of them are like wolves and unicorns. They might look a bit like
Dark Beast one as well.
Weird.
It's huge. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
If anything, like I did hear that there was potentially, we might want to do a gauntlet hard mode at some point later on. That might be a cool way to add the transmog later, as like they do with challenge mode raids.
Yeah.
That might be an idea. I don't know if the hard mode gauntlet is coming out. I just heard that could be an idea for the future.
Sure.
It would be a nice extra reward instead of just giving out for free.
Yeah. Fair enough. Punisher wants to know if Soul Wars can make a comeback. This has been asked, I don't know how many times since Old School launched.
And the answer has not changed.
No.
Okay.
Perhaps West could tell us more about the process for trying to get a model back that was used in RuneScape back in those days, and how it doesn't work for animations so well.
Oh yeah, because I think it was after the 2008 update, when they did the whole HD update, they sort of merged all their frames together. So currently we have our frames stored in separate files, so every frame is its own file. But they changed it so they all just collapse into a single file, and obviously that doesn't work with our current animations. We can do it with models, because all the models they're just a lot larger and a lot more detailed, so with the colour space is a bit more definition as well. But essentially we just make the model smaller. That's what I did for the PvP armors. And then we just fix all the colours up and make sure it works with the current animations. Usually the labels work quite nicely, so it still works with the skeletons if you already have them. But if you don't have that base, it's just not going to work. So it would be still a large job to adapt.
Okay.
I recall it took somebody about a week to get the Grand Exchange, and that doesn't actually have a huge number of models. And none of them are animated either, so that's the scale of it. When we did the Corp, we actually did bring back the models from back then. I think the artist was on it for several weeks, despite there being only like 9 models total. Like the Beast, cut the Proj anims, recreate those animations. Not in very high frame rate by the look of the way the Corp moves, by the way.
Yeah. I recreated the animation for it for the pet because it didn't really look very good on the pet when I'd made it a lot smaller. I mean, we could add if players want it, we could add a smoother animation for the Corp, but I mean, it's not really come up, so I've not really suggested it.
Well, sometimes that stop motion animation look has its appeal.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very stop motion because
If you watch, Empire Strikes Back, you'll get that in the Battle on Hoth. Yeah,
it's very classic.
Okay. What if we were to make our own Soul Wars with bespoke models and maybe even a slightly tweaked system?
So here's the thing, when we brought out the Rev Caves, a lot of the behaviour was the same, the way the things were programmed. I understand the developer actually adapted the original code from 2008-ish, and much of the dungeon layout, give or take, going mad with agility shortcuts. But players were pretty darn scathing about it, and saw it as not what they remembered. It looked cheap because we hadn't recreated it pixel by pixel. We'd genuinely done a cheaper version with different models ourselves, and players were pretty vocal that this was not good enough.
Sure.
So no, while for many people the cosmetics don't matter too much and they just want the gameplay, there's a lot of people feel differently about that kind of thing, and I do not think that's a good direction to go anymore. Didn't help that it came with the Mage Arena 2 update with its, I think, bright blue painted demons, which that really was a sort of never mind cosmetics, let's give them the gameplay and see if that's the priority. Turns out it's not enough of the priority.
Yeah,
That's fair. I also have some not so good memories from Soul Wars, which maybe people forget, such as being stuck at the spawn while people ice barrage on you for like
the last
5-10
time
minutes straight.
Yeah, the last time I played it was quite a while ago, but it was just a swarm of people just sort of stood still. And I was unsure they were really playing the game for the game rather than just for the rewards themselves. So.
Well, otherwise it would be XP waste, surely.
Of course.
Okay, Jordan wants us to allow them to fill the herb sack with grimy herbs rather than just clean herbs.
It'll get muddy.
It is grimy herbs. You
Yes.
can't put clean herbs in.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, the other way round. I suppose. I think I've put that down wrong.
Yes.
But when they become filthy,
What the sack? Yeah, I suppose it would.
Don't want no filthy sack.
This is kind of
Okay, I'm going to move on from that one quickly.
So, if I recall correctly, the way it stores the data for the quantity inside it would, yeah, like Maz says, so it would need a lot more memory capacity allocating for it if all the herbs could be in a different form. And while that's not impossible, it's a slightly bigger job than just switching it around. So I don't think this is something we're about to offer, sorry.
I suppose he's asking it because he's accidentally cleaned it and then he can't put it in.
Right. Yeah.
But just be a bit more careful.
We would just give you a way to make it grimy again.
Yeah, just rub it on the floor maybe.
When you drop clean herbs, you pick them up
Oh, no,
with grimy again.
you'd get the
Give you another
experience of
XP
that.
for the cleaning process. That could be a new power trading method. You get 1 guam and a muddy puddle.
Yep.
Maybe use it on your grubby chest.
Yes.
Ah,
yes.
nice.
Yes.
One in the dungeon, not I'm suggesting your. Yeah.
Yeah. That's okay. Yeah. New Ultimate Iron Man Herblore training meta.
Just with a single herb.
So Venom wants an update on Last Man Standing. So a couple of weeks ago, Mod Rock explained all the things he'd like to do for Last Man Standing. Since then, we've made it so that you can start casual games with 4 players.
Yeah, we polled that on poll 67 a while back, but yeah, we've got that one out before the rest of the rework comes. Maz might be well placed to tell us more about the progress of the last person standing minigame.
Indeed, I am actively working on Last Man Standing with Mod Rock, and we are working through all of the wonderful suggestions he's come up with and discussed with you. He's going to be putting a blog out shortly regarding rewards, and your thoughts will be very, very much appreciated on that. So wait for that to come and give us your ideas.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so send your ideas to @JagXRock, ROQ, for anyone who hasn't seen that written down, or JagXMaz. Our next question is from Glasses, and their suggestion is, can we rebuild the missing statues left after Garden of Tranquility using marble bricks? This should give a little bit of construction experience as well. What do we think?
Don't see why not.
I like that.
Yeah?
Would you want to rebuild them as they were, or rebuild them to something else, like
Ooh.
Queen Ella Maria?
Maybe if you
Yourself.
maybe if you have a lower construction or crafting level, they're sort of a little bit out of shape or deformed. But if you have 99, then you can rebuild them as they were.
I'm just imagining, I can't remember what quest that was, but you make like a statue and it gets like a donkey head or something on it, or a camel's head on it.
Enactress Laments.
That's
you
the one.
work with Lazim, the sculptor, to build. You get a choice of whether you want Zamorak's head, a camel's head, his head, or something else. I do not quite know why the developer went to this effort, but it was pretty cool.
Yeah, so I just imagine rebuilding these statues, but it just has a camel's head on it, because that's all the player knows how to do.
Nice.
There's one, the empty plinths in Falador, right? So a Duriel one would be quite fitting. Duriel? No, Duradel. No.
Duriel, yeah.
Duriel, yeah, it was Duriel, yeah.
Duradel could have a statue.
I mean, Duradel as well, yeah.
His head would probably be easier to sculpt because he's bald, right?
Yeah. It's quite easy to make the statues as well, because you just take the player kit and turn it grey. It's done.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Although I think there maybe be something a bit weird about a city commemorating
Yeah, celebrating the murderer.
mass murderer.
Players seem to like him, so
In the spirit of modern art, maybe something abstract.
potentially.
Maybe it's a whole like plot line that we never knew about, that the White Knights realised that there were a bunch of Black Knights in Falador, so they committed a genocide to purge the city. And
Falador Massacre was an inside job confirmed by Mark Husky. I realise we're actually running out of time quite quickly, so I'm going to move on to some chat questions that Mod Maz has kindly gathered for us. The first few are around the Forthos Dungeon, so I'll direct these to West and Husky. The first is, will the dragons be multi-combat? The Red Dragon area?
No.
No.
The only multi-combat area in the dungeon currently is the Temple Spider Room, the first one that you get into.
Okay.
So, yeah, if anyone does get them as a Slayer task, they're not a lot. They can be barraged. It is a thing.
Sure. Along similar lines, I know some players were interested to know if they'll be able to set up their cannons there.
I was thinking about this a lot because I know you forwarded the tweet to me. I don't want to add it. If I add it to the dungeon, it has to be to the whole dungeon.
Right.
I don't want to add it to the Scorched Grotto where the Red Dragons are because that would severely impact the experience rates per player that I've quoted and worked out.
Right.
And I don't really want to give them an option for that. Also, that area hasn't really been done to prevent potentially other people's cannons hitting other people's dragons,
Okay.
and that could get quite annoying.
Sure.
So no, not currently.
Imagine that, yes.
The next one is the Catacombs shortcut.
Before the
It
show.
says Catacombs shortcut
Oh.
being taken away. Double question mark.
I can go show that if we're okay, because that's something I did forget to show off, and it looks really cool.
Yeah, please do.
Is that okay for us to flick back to that screen? Yeah.
Okay.
That looks really cool.
So before we show it, it's still there. Obviously, we didn't just completely remove the access to the catacombs, but it's rather inside the dungeon itself now, and it's sort of more part of the environment. So it sort of feels more, more part of the world essentially.
Okay. That's nice. It's cool when you get the opportunity to make something feel a bit more natural like
Yeah.
that.
And it feels, it sort of feels like the Dark Altar as well. It's sort of leaking out of the sort of pocket dimension it's sort of in. So it gives it a bit of thematics as well.
Very cool.
And there is also a slight reference to something as well, which you might be able to tell when you see it.
Wait to see if we can transition over to Mod Husky, who's gone back to the PC.
Cool.
Sorry, what's that?
Oh,
Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to manage something else.
Oh.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Cool, back. So as I mentioned, this was the entrance on the east side. There is another entrance on the west side. So this location here is currently where the entrance to the catacombs is now. What I've done is we've decided to move it to, if I can get in here, down this ladder, you'll see this strange hole here. So the catacombs entrance currently works that you can only unlock it from the other side. You can't get to it currently, so again, you do this and you can't get it. But if I cheat and open it, you have this sort of nice corrupted hole within it. Which leads to the giant sand crabs. So this is that entrance there. So arguably it's a bit faster for those people who want to get to Dust Devils than it currently is. Oh, I'll need to fix that and remove that from the map. But yes, that's the current entrance there that's been moved. Yeah, I think that looks quite cool.
Yes.
I think West got the inspiration from Stranger Things, so I've added the appropriate examine text for there.
What does that say? I can't read from here.
A passage to another realm, I've seen Stranger Things.
Very nice.
Apparently you have.
Oh, thank you very much for showing that off. Mod
Thank
Husky.
you for showing us your corrupted hole.
Thank you.
I mean,
I suppose technically it's my corrupted hole.
Is he?
Well, I did the catacombs,
Oh, he get
yes.
corrupted by the power of the Dark Altar.
of course.
What better way?
there's always a wizard, isn't there?
That's now canon.
Well, we've got 5
Yes.
more minutes, so we could try and carry on from that.
Yes, I'll move on. Sorry?
You're not going to top that.
No, I don't think so.
So, question from the chat I saw. Knocked Up Noon was asking about the Barb Assault Cape update. I think that came out a couple of weeks ago.
Sorry, I was somewhere else.
That's about it, really.
Okay. Right, I'll squeeze in a couple more questions then. We also have something to show off to close with, I believe. Are we still okay with that? I'm going to ask my producer the video.
It's also done.
Oh, awesome. So another player from the chat has asked, can we not open seed packs while moving similar... Sorry. Can we open seed packs while moving, similar to birds' nests?
Didn't know that was a problem.
I only noticed that the other week in game.
Okay.
I haven't actually looked in to see why it does it. I imagine it's possible.
Okay. I know there are some things some actions you can do and can't do. So like herb boxes, for example, you have to be still for.
Sometimes if something's going to open a menu, like a chat box menu or something, we won't want you wandering around with that open because other scripts get stalled behind it while you move over boundaries.
Right.
But that tends not to be a big issue. And
I think it might be because it's trying to find the actual pack in your inventory. So
Yeah.
it's probably stopping everything else from happening. So it's cancelling your walking, and then it's trying to find the pack so it can decrease the variable that's on the pack, and that's why it's happening.
Okay.
Okay. So is that something we wouldn't be able to change without?
No.
Okay. No, you can't do that. Can we make a fire giant boss like Obor for hill giants? Fire giant boss.
So initially the giant bosses were sort of designed as I think there's 4 of them, designed by Mod Kira, I believe.
Yes.
And he did have some ideas down for a fire giant one and I believe an ice giant as well. And it makes sense to sort of continue the line down there in the future at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And
I believe you had some thoughts about an ice one.
Yeah. There was a moment in my training where, unfortunately, Maz had other responsibilities and I couldn't continue. So she was like, "Oh, go think about the ice boss." And I thought some cool mechanics involving sliding floors and pillars that you'd trap you against, and predominantly using fire spells to maybe relight braziers that would stop this passive cold aura damage in the room. But like, I had some cool ideas that I was exploring with creating, and then obviously I had to go back to my training, and it just never got picked up on again because it wasn't actually a project. But I'd love to do the whole sliding floors. I just remember like the puzzles from Pokemon and stuff. We had to, get to like the gym leader, the ice gym leader in the second generation games.
Do you remember Myths of the White Lands in RS3?
Oh yeah,
They did that.
Yeah, so cool. I like that mechanic. Doing that while doing fighting a boss as well would be quite interesting.
Yeah.
I managed to make a option in the clan battlefield where you could paint down ice floor as a rectangle of arbitrary dimensions and just have dynamic skiddy anywhere in your clan battlefield.
That's cool.
It's one of the least used features out there, partly because it's stuck behind clan citadels, but also nobody really needed a clan battlefield over there. But I was quite pleased that I was able to have a dynamic slippery floor anywhere. Long time ago.
I saw someone saying another instance boss, and it probably would be, considering you need to get a key yourself to enter it. So,
well, like
yes.
Hobo and Firefighter.
That would make sense, actually.
Maybe it's like, I don't know if this is possible, but have like 2 halves of a key, but like Shield of Arav, where you have to find a friend to open the door together with.
I did.
Cool. Players love that.
It's one of them. I know.
That requires having friends.
Disregarding the design that I just said, I did see something in our repository of ideas for like a fire and ice combo for the giant bosses to do the last 2 together, and you could almost do that with like a fire half the key and an ice half the key that have to go together. So that could be quite cool for that.
And then you get the wet hand.
Yeah, just water in your hand that somehow opens the door. But
Having friends, the highest requirement of all.
Feels bad.
You could just make a second account, right?
so you've excluded max players, right?
Are you insulting yourself?
Yep, insulting myself.
Kind of want that ice key to get rid of that burn.
Maybe
won't
we
you?
should stop.
Okay, on that note, I'm going to summarise the announcements then, wrap things up. So, !Elf stream will take you to the stream we did last week, which was around Song of the Elves. We had the whole team, well, as many of the team that could make it on to talk about the development of the quest and its surrounding content. !Merch will link you to the tweet with the merch that we showed off today. We're adding a desk mat, which
This is one, yeah.
which Mod Tide is going to model for us.
Oh, let me get it the right way up.
So we've got the lovely desk mat, we've got a mouse mat with the same mat print on it, and
Shout out to Matt.
some new pins and key rings.
Replace the map.
!Membership will bring you to the summer special deal where you can get 3 months of membership for 2 now. And !Deadman will mark the Twitch event for you. We're rerunning the spring finals this Friday, so don't miss out on that. I'm going to thank everybody for joining me on the sofa this week. So thank you, Mod West, Mod Tide, Mod Ash, Mod Husky, and Mod Maz on chat.
And apparently Mod John over there. Now we know.
And Mod John.
Yep.
Something I'd like to leave you guys with, a little community spotlight piece. We saw this and thought it was awesome. So anyone who happens to like Minecraft will be very interested in this old school themed server that one of the players has made. We're going to leave you with that, and I hope you enjoy it. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.